Welcome everyone once again to our regular weekly show on YouTooSpain. I'm Skatz, and today I have 4 guests with whom I'll be discussing the fiasco that is the driving licence situation in Spain for UK licence holders who are now unable to drive. So if you're a pre-Brexit resident of Spain, a new post-Brexit resident, or if you're looking to move to Spain, this programme is just for you. This promises to be all at once the most contentious and informative show we've done on YouTooSpain, and each of my guests has something very valuable to impart. So settle back with a cuppa and enjoy the ride. As usual, we'll have questions and comments from social media and from the live chat and from the comments below about today's topic. Because of today's emotive subject, I do anticipate busy chat, so don't be disappointed if I don't manage to answer all of your questions. Put any unanswered questions in the comments below the video, please. Let me just get the chat up so I can see who's on. Good morning, John. And so, welcome to YouTooSpain. Cue the cosmic theme music, and here we go. Everybody dance. Woo-hoo. Thank you very much, first of all, to the very groovy and talented wizard of a musician, Lee Spreadbury, for that theme music. You can find a link to his excellent YouTube channel below. So very quickly, before I introduce my wonderful guests, here are the usual important messages. It'll only take a moment. You can thank us for the help you get today by buying me a coffee via the link in the video description below, or you can become a regular patron and receive extra videos and information that aren't even available to the public. And those links, if you can't find them below, are also available on YouTooSpain.com, which is our terrific website packed with loads of information and articles and all of the links you need to help you move to Spain. So join the community, and there are other also very helpful links to where you can get discounts on lots of things that you need, including getting the best currency exchange help in advance. Do it well in advance, that's the advice. And that's from Smart Currency Exchange, one of our wonderful partners. So you can maximize your spending money and pension in Spain safely. And if you use that link below, you'll be helping YouTooSpain, and it won't cost you a penny. And once again, we'll be having some prizes to give away for the best questions and comments from you. So without further ado, let's get that chat back up again. Let's meet one at a time my guests for the day. First of all, someone my regular watchers will recognize straight away. She's been giving us regular news updates, and she's an expert on driving licenses. It's Richelle DeWitt. Good morning, Richelle.
Good morning, Skatz.
Well, so you're the queen of the driving license, I've heard.
Yes, that's what they used to call me within the Citizens Advice team when I was working there, because I was always diving into the subject whenever there was any changes to the rules and normativa.
Brilliant. So we have royalty on the show. Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And you'll be giving us
missing, but
yeah.
The dancing was there.
Fantastic. So you'll be giving us a summary in a moment of the context of the driving license situation, and you'll be available later on again to fill in any more details and respond to what we've all been talking about.
Of course.
But before that, let's meet some more guests. This is mother and daughter team. I like that. Trini and Fiona. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Fabulous, very well, thank you. So you arrived before the Brexit deadline at the end of 2020, and for reasons which we'll all hear about after Richelle's chat, you still haven't got your Spanish driving licenses, and you're stuck in this awful situation, like thousands of others, where you hit a brick wall and they took the carpet out from underneath you. And I have a feeling your bit could be quite political and radical. Are you all fired up and ready?
Oh, yes.
Very much looking forward to that. So my last guest, but definitely not the least, is Ruth Collins. Hello, Ruth. Oh, here we go. Let you get you. There. Is it working for you?
Yes, I'm here.
Brilliant. Well, are you back on your iPad?
Back on my iPad, yes. I'm back on the Fisher Price version, but I'm here.
Brilliant. This apologies to anyone who's getting a slightly jumpy picture from Ruth. The iPad isn't quite as good a platform, but there you go. But we can still hear you perfectly, which is the main thing. And so you arrived after Brexit, and you're in the process of taking your driving test, and you're also a former British driving instructor.
I am, yes.
So So as well as being able to tell us about the driving test, you can tell us lots of information about the differences between UK and Spain, and you've got loads of advice for people to bring them down from panic.
Yes.
Does that just about sum it up?
Yeah, I'm the cup of tea and the biscuit in all of this chat. So
Fabulous.
I'm the remedy.
You're the remedy. Excellent. So you'll be the final guest. So what I'll do now is speak to each of you in turn, and I'm going to clear the rest of you off into the green room, a lovely area over to my left where only I can see you. So I'll say just goodbye to Ruth just for now, and that's you, and then goodbye to Trini and Fiona. There we go. So it's just me and you, Richelle.
Okay.
So
the rest of your viewers, because they're joining up.
Yes, of course. Good morning, Colin and Stephen and Donna and that's the same Stephen, John, and Mr. Lower Largo. He's 7 months into the first year of his non-lucrative visa. Under the rules, do I need to change my British license now, or is it 5 years when I obtain residency? That's an easy one. Just answer that.
Do you want me to answer that one quickly? Well,
Yeah,
he
why
already
not?
should have, but he can't do an exchange. He has to take classes, lessons, and pass the theory and the practice test. But he should have done that before his 6 months of his non-lucrative visa was up. It's not legal to drive anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm the one with the hard, brutal facts today.
Yes, the hard, brutal fact. So let's get straight into it. What you're going to do is give us put everything in context, a sort of a brief summary to remind us all of what on earth has happened. Because I was just talking to you before we got on air, and saying I thought I remembered everything, but back in 2020, I didn't even have YouTooSpain. So what I can remember is probably me thinking back and thinking that I remembered it all. So I don't know what information we knew at what stage. So take it away.
Of course, there was once upon a time before Brexit, there was a fairy tale land that's called the EU.
Woohoo!
And Spain was a member of that, still is, and the UK was as well. So the EU norms and regulations, normativa and regulations, were applicable to UK driving licenses. That meant until the end of 2014 that you could just exchange it when it was about to expire, exchange it for a Spanish one. And only if you had a paper-only license, those fluffy paper-only licenses that had no end date on it, or the end date was your 70th birthday, those had to be renewed for a Spanish one after your 2nd year of residency. That was the only limitation there was for UK driving licenses. Mm-hmm. But then on the 30th of December in 2014, the DGT issued a new protocol, their interpretation of EU regulations about not just those licenses, those paper-only licenses without an expiration date, needing to be renewed before the licenses were about to expire, but earlier, after 2 years of residency. Other categories of licenses would fall into that measure. And lots of Brits or people with UK licenses, I should say, were caught out by that because they thought that with their little pink card that was only valid for 10 years because the photo had to be renewed after 10 years, they were good to go. But the regulation or the interpretation of the DGT of that regulation was that if you had up to 15 years for categories A and B, so regular car and motorcycle, up to 15 years, then you were good. You were only obliged to renew it for a Spanish one when it was about to expire. But categories C and D had to be capped to 5 years or 3 years if you're over 65. And that's where things went awkward for lots of UK license holders, because most don't even realize if they got their C1 and their D1 and their C1E and their D1E through grandfather rights. They never even took an exam for those. So most didn't even realize they had them, except when they had used it to rent a small van or something to move some stuff. Mm-hmm. And those categories on the back of the licenses, in most cases, were not capped to that 5 or 3 years. They would still say that we were valid till your 70th birthday. And if that was farther off than the expiry date on the front of your license, the 10 years, then you were in deep shit. Sorry, because then traffic could fine you for driving with a license that didn't meet the requisites Spanish law. Well, there was lots of stuff to do about that. We had Citizens Advice. We had chats with former judges in Spain talking about the interpretation, whether this was all legal or not. It was not, but still Trafico insisted on putting it into action, but with a year respite. So in the end, only as of 2016, they were actually doing something, enforcing that, apart from the first couple of fines in the beginning of 2015. We sent letters and everything to the DGT and lots of stuff to do about it. Okay, so that was all the case. So people who tell you that it was always the case that Brits had to renew their licenses within 6 months of residency, no, that was not true. 2 years or until it was about to expire. Okay, but then, of course, Brexit with the transition period. And in the transition period, DGT saw a huge amount of people, extra people who wanted to get appointments for living exchanges. And they also realized that lots of people would be arriving towards the very end of that transition period. And to make it possible for all those people to still renew their licenses, they made a new protocol for UK driving licenses. It started in the beginning of November. I think the 6th of November it was published on their website, and it lasted until the end of December 2020. You had to pre-register your intent to change your driving licenses for a Spanish one, and you could do that either online with a digital certificate or by calling 060, their telephone number. The horrible thing about the second option is that it was a very quick option and easy to do, but it would leave you with no proof at all. So if there was a failure in their computer system or just a human failure of somebody just not clicking the right enter button at the end or whatever, then it would not come up in the system. And when lots of people were caught out when they eventually went for their appointment and said, well, it's not in our system. Okay, well, there were things to counteract that, but I'll get into that later. So you had until the 30th of December to either pre-register your license, and Trafico would also honor appointments that were made before this protocol was put into place for dates in early 2021. So people already had an appointment for January or February, nothing to worry about. They could still exchange their licenses. But what you could not do is just choose in the option menu for appointment, choose Ireland and just turn up with your British license. No, that would not happen. Okay, so with this whole issue that with the and you could also continue to drive until, I think the first deadline was end of June with your UK license. They thought it would be sorted by then. It wasn't, of course. So this deadline of the grace period was put back, extended first till October, then December, then to February. And the deadline, the window to be able to do the actual exchange of your license changed with it, extended with it. So up until the end of April, that was still an option.
This year, yeah.
Yes, this year. Of course, the information issued by lots of professionals to their clients was not very complete or even just erroneous.
No, yeah? the biggest thing was that they were saying you need your TIE
you
card, you need your residency.
Yeah, well, that's because the rules from the DGT literally said that. But if you had a bit of understanding about how immigration works, then you would know that once you put in your application for residency, so for all those people under the withdrawal agreement, once they approved it, they would backdate it to the date you put it in. So my reasoning, and from lots of others I know, was that as long as you have an NIE number, because that's what really was essential, as long as you had an NIE number and your application for residency was put in before the end of December, then you were sure that you would have a backdated date till the end of 2020, and you would not have been lying when you made the call that you said, I'm a resident, because you had to confirm that when you made the call. Is your client a resident? Yes, he is. And I would only process applications of it. The clients had sent me proof that their residency application was put in. So that I can't lie for someone. I mean, yeah, my reputation at stake as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so as long as it was put in, I was sure that I could honor the commitment and that they would be able to actually do the exchange once they got the residency paperwork, their approval letter. Yeah? So that was the big misunderstanding, that lots of professionals insisted on people already having that approval letter or even their TIE. And said, well, yeah, we tried, but we couldn't do anything for you, or you need your TIE and can't do anything. Or people were told, you have 2 years, don't worry. That came from the 2-year resident protocol. People were never professionals who were not aware of the new protocol for UK driving licenses. So the 060 system was not infallible, sadly. What you could
That's
do...
an understatement.
Yes, what I did, I made an exact note of the time that I called, so the exact timestamp. I made a note of who was the operator I was talking to for my clients. And I also kept a log of my mobile phone so that it would show exactly at that time that I made that call. Of course, I made several in the same phone call, but at least that small window, that was the only window that they would then have to look into their own logs at DGT to find the call. And for several clients, that worked. I think of all of mine, there was only one. The traffic code just said, no, we just can't find you. Just tough tits, can't find you. So that was something that was helpful. But very few people, of course, in the situation of just having an NIE number would have had a digital certificate to do it online. That was it. Or have professionals do it for them with a digital certificate, because that was not the simplest solution at the time. The easiest was the 060, because it was also far less time consuming. But of course, it was not infallible, as it turned out in the end.
No, that's true.
That was a bit of the history. And now, basically, UK license holders are in the same situation as all the other countries that do not have a convenio with Spain about the exchange of licenses. And they only have 6 months as of the date of the start of their residency. And for most of the people, new arrivals, that will be on a visa. And that will be the date and the stamp on your passport when you arrive. That's the start of your residency. That will also be the end, the reference for the expiry date of your first TIE.
Okay, so it's not the date. So it's not the date on your TIE card, it's the stamp on your passport.
Stamp on your passport, that will be, is if it says you arrived on the 2nd of January this year, then the date on your TIE will say that it's going to be valid for till the 1st of January next year.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah, so that's their grounding date, the reference date. Irrespective of the date on the back, because that's only going to be the issue date of the TIE, which is not relevant for this issue.
Good. Okay, so that about sums it up for now. So what I'm going to do, I'll pop you back in the waiting room with everyone else.
All right.
While I speak to the next two guests. So we will see you later on.
All right.
Okay, bye for now. So let's get Trini and Fiona back on the screen so we can find out what happened to them. Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
So let's just a quick sum up. You moved here before the end of December 2020. So you and your mum Fiona should have been able to swap your licenses, and tell us about your situation. Why on earth haven't you got your Spanish licenses yet? What could possibly have gone wrong?
We simply were not allowed to. And we did absolutely everything that we were told to by professionals. We paid professionals. This has cost quite a lot of money. And I think people do need to keep this in mind. This is not a cheap move for a lot of people. A lot of people like myself and, a lot of my friends who have moved over at my age, we've come here as working people. So, we haven't got lots of savings in the account, and we haven't sold our house, and we're not retiring here. We've moved here. I've got children. They're in school. I work. So it has been a very stressful move. We were going through the pandemic, so it was very difficult to get out of towns. We were very limited to information. So we have trusted professionals, paid professionals to do our licenses. I actually called the DGT to say that I was an Irish citizen with a UK license. I did make that very specific. And actually got told, oh, don't worry, you're European. This isn't going to affect you. And that was calling somebody from the DGT. I am still trying to find out their exact name, who I spoke to. I don't think they do call recordings here. But I have requested a recording of the phone call just to prove that I have been misinformed. DGT, my mum got told that you cannot do your exchanging your license until you receive your residency. So what she did instead, she went to do the medical. So she had her health check, her eye test. She also did the driving simulation, passed everything, paid money to do this, to get her certificate, and then was told that that is not considered intent.
Yeah. What happened was, hang on.
Yeah.
What happened was, I was told, because we moved here, we weren't we were going through the whole throes of getting, the TIE card. So you're panicking about getting the residency application in. Then all this thing about you've got to change your driving license by the end of December. So, right, medical, right, and they said, right, go straight to a Hester. So I got my medical. I mean, they even take my license is on the system in Spain anyway, because they do take a copy of your license. Went to the Hester, and he turned around and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't apply for your license until you've got residency." So what? I just presumed, oh, okay.
Yep.
So when I got residency about 7 months later,
Yeah.
I went back and I said, "I've got my residency card."
Yeah.
And here we are. You can't do it. And I went to another Hester, and they said, "Sorry, you can't because you didn't register intent." And,
and I've got
informed all the time.
I mean, I think that there's one thing I do want to say here is that it's happened to thousands of people. So thousands of people have come here, and it is their right to do so within the withdrawal agreement. So whether they were here late or whatever, that is not in debate here. People got here before the withdrawal agreement. Because they did not want to suffer the implications of Brexit. Okay, so that was the rush to get here. Lots of people got here because they wouldn't be able to move to Spain after Brexit. They didn't have the financial means. They would have to do a driving test. They did not want to suffer any implications from Brexit. So they put everything into getting here before that date. And they have been misinformed. They've paid solicitors, but it's happened on a grand scale. This isn't just a few people who got misinformed. This has happened on a grand scale. Now, this absolutely shows that there is a big problem in Spain in terms of legal advice. Now, I know that Cat's services in Albox, which is a known service in Albox, we have a person at the moment who actually emailed me this morning. They did the exchange of his license with the DGT in November 2020. Okay. Now they lost his driving license, right? That British license gone. Couldn't find his British license. So this gentleman was left with no license, and then went and drove in the UK, but didn't have a driving license. Didn't even have a Spanish license to show in the UK. So has had to order another license. Now, there's lots of stories like this as well. So they've lost their licenses. Then they've had to order a new license because they've got no driving license. The minute they've made that order, any register for intent or exchange of a license is instantly invalid, and now they have to do the driving test. So this has happened on a couple of occasions as well. So it's getting quite complicated, and it's also a bit unfair. I do really think that this has been made very, very complicated for people moving. This sort of registering intent was not widely available. You've also got, this grand scale of misinformation from, solicitors and quite big. There's a Benny Guest as well. A lady, she went through a company called Benny Guest. They have given her all the wrong advice. This was back in September 2020. So people, they were here in time. They've been trying to, use professional people to get this done. And they've just ended up in this situation. And there's no refunds. There's no refunds. There's no compensation. You can't go to a Spanish authority and say, "This has happened to me. Can you help me?" It's like, no. So you don't get any help or anything to get yourself out of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're sort of, now we're just left isolated because we've just been waiting for some sort of deal to happen. I mean, out of principle, a lot of these people, because they've just gone through everything, out of principle, they are like, we are entitled to exchange our license. So they do not want to do a driving test. You also have a lot of people who can't afford to. I mean, for me, I'm like, it's €300 up front. I can't just, I've got bills to pay, rent, I've got, children to feed, I've got to work. A, I haven't got the time. B, I haven't got €300 in my account to just pay up to do. I'm going to have to save that. And I don't think people realize that, there's a lot of people that don't have that money just lying around.
Mm-hmm. It's an awful situation, isn't it? It's actually you've provided me with quite a selection of emails and texts from people. You're part of a group of people who are the concerned, who've had the same issues as you with swapping a license. I've been displaying one or two of them as
Yes.
gone along. I'll keep on doing that as you're speaking,
Yes.
just to show you. But I've only got a tiny percentage of them. How many people are you aware of actually directly affected by it?
At least 452 people, and this is just from one Facebook group. So I know that there are thousands. I've had to kind of limit how many messages, because I've been overwhelmed by messages, because I've sort of tried to take this on as I'm trying to get in contact, and hopefully we'll have a interview with the BBC at some point. So I've just had people messaging me and, so desperate, elderly people who, this is the only reason they came here before the date. They did not want to do a Spanish driving test. People are suffering really badly from their mental health, and it's a huge sort of dilemma. How do they get to the driving school? They can't go and get food, right? They can't go and get food. They can't just go and pick up their prescription medication at the moment. They are actually having to walk in 33-degree heat to go and pick up prescription medication and food, because they don't have many neighbours. And people are very depressed. I've spoken to people who are genuinely feeling very suicidal, because they just, especially I think as well with the effects of the pandemic, people have really suffered mentally from that as well. And then you've just literally put this on them. And it's almost like a breaking point. There's only so much people can handle. You've gone through a lot of stress, and then, it's just an extra stress to have this put on you. You've been told something might be sorted. A lot of people are still in contact with solicitors trying to get this resolved and get their license exchanged. I did want to exchange my license. I was here before the date. I really want to try and, exchange my license, and being told not to. So they're trying to go through solicitors to still be allowed to exchange their licenses. Mm-hmm. But of course, just not getting anywhere. And the people particularly who came here before the 30th of December, the Spanish government is responsible for them to some extent. I know the people that come afterwards, you have to be aware that you will probably have to do a driving test. You are coming as a third country national now. You do take that into account when you make a move to another country. But these people who moved here before genuinely believed they wouldn't have to go through this. They're now left isolated, and there has to be some responsibility here.
Mm-hmm. I can see Richelle waving to me. Let me just pop her up on the screen. I think she has an answer to one of these points. Hi, Richelle.
Hi, Trini.
Hello.
Hi. I would just like to get into, you say the Spanish government has some sort of responsibility.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the Spanish government has bent over backwards during the transition period, then making a new protocol to give them another grace period, extend the grace period every time the period for the negotiations was extended, until now, after 16 months after the transition period, they've said, and now it's enough. I know it's hard, I know it's horrible, and I feel for everybody affected, but it's not the Spanish government being difficult here. The transition period was there to get all this sort of stuff sorted. Why do all the other countries have an agreement? I mean, it's a both parties thing, because there is Gibraltar in Spain. That's the whole issue. And they should have tackled it to take care, the British government should have tackled it to take care of all those people they knew were still in this license issue situation in Spain before the end of the transition period. That was their job.
But the Spanish government and the British government were making it both of them, because I have got the updates on the phone, basically misleading people, saying, "Oh, we're working on a deal. Don't worry." People.
No. They never said, "Don't worry." They said, "We're working on a deal. There are no guarantees."
It looks like it's going to be a good thing. Everything's going well. I mean, and this is
I know, but they should have done it to take care of everybody during the transition period.
Again, solicitors, so telling people that we're here after the 30th of December, oh, don't do anything, don't do your test, it's fine, they're going to get a deal. Again, you've got another load of professionals misinforming people.
Because they can't, it's like a crystal ball. I mean, of course, everybody is hoping, and I'm expecting the deal to come, but I've told all my clients, I don't know when. It should have been here already, and I don't know when. So if you depend on your license, then get the alternative.
But so
it's not the Spanish government. I'm sorry.
Right. So if you depend on your license and you have to go through the alternative, people who, they've been here before the date, it was incredibly complicated. I don't know why there wasn't a more simple procedure of, your residency application. There's something to do with your residency application. Your solicitor could register your intent. Because people were here before the 30th.
They could have just called 060.
But we weren't told. That wasn't. I didn't have.
I think it has been more. I think it's been more complicated than that, Richelle. I think let's let Trenny carry on with her story for now, and we'll have you back on for the big debate at the end.
I'll move to the green room.
But thank you. But by all means, put your comments in the live chat so people can read them. And that. Thanks very much. I'm not pushing you out, but
No.
Yeah.
Can I just say it's very difficult to access information in Spain.
Yeah.
We were one of these late arrivals, and we came with every intention of being legal.
And I have to actually say this: if the professionals, right, don't know, how are we supposed to? If the solicitors that you go to for this information of registering intent, you go to a solicitor. If they tell you, and it's your fault, I mean, it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. It was not easy to find that out. And, it's sort of like it could have been made a little bit easier for people. Or, you could prove that you've done the medical before the 30th, or you've sent your driving licenses to your solicitors to exchange your license. I mean, it's like you had to do this or else.
Can I also say there is a problem with the negotiations, obviously, but a friend of Trini's was here about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
He has received a parking fine and a speeding fine
from Spain.
So
in Barcelona.
What is the problem?
And had to pay it last week. They
obviously have access to all the information they need. Now, we've been.
I think that's a different brand of different part of the information, but it's still confusing.
Being here before the end of December 2020, right? We do expect to have our licenses changed, full stop, right? But they've now put us in a position where, how do we get a driving license? I can't drive to go to the lessons. I can't drive to go to the theory test.
But as Ruth was saying, you've had since then till when they've said enough. So you've had 18 months.
I still feel I was here. I did everything right. Mm-hmm. I did all I could. Why should I suffer for that?
Yeah, I know there's Americans and Canadians and
put in this position, and it's thousands and thousands of people that are really vulnerable, and I feel really strongly about it. I do.
Mhm.
So
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
fair
know why
enough.
there isn't a pass for people as well. Like, I mean, like, surely if in elderly people and people who are vulnerable, whatever's happened, whatever thing, oh, it's your fault, you should have done your driving license in the 18 months, naughty old people, you didn't get the right information and you've had all this time. I mean, like, we can, whatever, it's happened. They're elderly, some are disabled, some are like literally vulnerable. You don't leave anybody in that situation. There's surely got to be some pass that they can give them. There's no public transport, they can't
No.
drive into town. They can't just do a magic, Spanish test in a week. It doesn't, you can't just do it in a week. It takes months. The theory's difficult. You're expecting pensioners to do this as well. I know some are finding it easy, but I've spoken to a lot who are really, really struggling and finding it very, very difficult. It's just
translations are appalling.
and there might still be a deal. So are you expecting people to go through the inconvenience, the stress, anxiety, the cost, right? And suffer all of that, right? To obtain the Spanish license, and then 2 weeks later they say, oh, we've got a deal to exchange licenses.
That would be terrible. And there have been a lot of, I know, Canadians and Americans and other nationalities who are non-Europeans who've just been saying, "Oh, stop whining! You've had plenty of time to take your driving license by now. Why are you acting as if you're entitled?" And the fact is, you were entitled, and that's the reason you came here in the first place.
And I mean,
and it's the fact that you feel like you've been attacked by all sides and let down.
And Europe the most.
My license is a European license.
Yeah, but it's like no, when have we just forgotten that the UK was a massive member state of Europe? I mean, like, I don't care what the politicians are arguing about. I'm not a politician. It's not my job to know the ins and outs of why for governments and which government's wrong and which government's not wrong. All I'm saying when I'm saying the Spanish government is responsible is for this group of people that have now been isolated. Right? You just wrongly advised, they're isolated, they genuinely believe there's a deal. You should have said something of the sort of like, right, okay, make sure these people have access to information, or, try and get these people priority in driving licenses, because they obviously need priority. Where's the priority? What if the people that can't afford it, that are in isolated areas, is there no way that we can, get in touch with them? Because we get this standard letter saying contact your charities, right, for help, your local charities. They're overrun, some of them.
Yeah. This letter is actually from Grant Shapps, department minister. Well, not. I mean, I don't suppose he signed it directly, but it's their standard response, and they're saying we remain committed to reaching a deal. It's this. This is something I feel is that there's been this message of hope all the way along, and then cut off. And I think that was a very bad idea. I know whoever's fault it is, they should have just left it going. I was expecting, and Chris, my regular guest, he's been expecting it to continue until there's either a deal or no deal. It should have been as simple as that, I think. But every time we've talked about it, we've said, well, if your job depends on it, then you should think about getting the license. And I know that's, it's not nice to hear, and a lot of people like yourself can't afford it. So
I can't just pay €300 up front, which is the upfront cost, and I haven't really had that amount of money in my account to be able to do that. I mean, I can afford to live here. I'm completely self-sufficient in Spain. I get no benefits. I pay all my stuff and all my taxes and all the rest of it. I'm completely self-sufficient here. I do not cost Spain any money, right? So, it's sort of like, but yeah, you've just got to magic up €300. That's if all goes well. If it doesn't go well, then the prices, can start going up. I might have to pay again, and it's become a mess. But I mean, it's the way that you're sort of, I don't know. It was like when the thing came out about European citizens and even Spanish citizens, oh, you've had ties with the UK, and now the UK is a third country. We're not going to allow you to exchange your licenses. And it's sort of like, but these people have gone to a European country, right? Done a university degree, got work experience, had to honour contracts. Now they're coming back to Spain, or, it's all right everywhere else. It doesn't seem to be a problem anywhere else, apart from Italy. But they're coming back to Spain, and now they're being told, oh, you've got to retake your driving test. So even for
there's lots of mad things that are happening as part of it, aren't there? And it's so difficult.
Turkey and Spain have a deal, don't they? So if you're Turkish, you can come here and exchange your license without doing a driving test.
I don't know. Is that right, Richelle? Nod or shake your head. I don't know. Sorry, I can't get you on the screen at the moment. We'll answer that one later on. Make a note of that. Anyway, I think we should let's get Ruth up. We'll say goodbye to you for now, Trini.
Yes,
yes. Sorry. I'm sure there's more to say, and there's more messages that I've got that I can put up on the screen. But just for now, and so see you in a moment. There we go. Right now, Ruth. Hello again.
Hi.
Sorry, we've left you hanging on in the waiting room for such a long time there. But you've got more of a positive message, I suppose. You wanted to broadcast a message that clears up a lot of the confusion and gives people a voice. So take it away, fire away.
So me and my husband, we're post-Brexit arrivals. We arrived in November 21. The first thing we'll just say back to Trini is, even though we were post-Brexit, the information we were given, even post-Brexit, was because you're UK, there's a chance you'll still be able to exchange. So it still wasn't clear for post-Brexiteers arrival. We were still given that message of hope that even as a third country, because we were British and we had been in the EU, we still might be able to exchange as well. And that came from all the advisors. So I think that confusion didn't end pre-Brexit. So that it really does make it a horrible set of circumstances. However, there's always balance in every debate, and I hope I'm coming along as your fairy godmother to try and give hope to those people that are going through the process.
Thank you.
Who aren't, perhaps they're not, they're part of the NLV process. So big shout out to anyone who's going through the NLV and has no nails left anyway. Don't want to add to your woes, but we'll try and clear this bit up, that there is a bit of hope for this section of your driving. So I think the first thing for me as a post-Brexiteer was, I wish somebody had said in the process, rather than giving us false hope, please consider about having to learn to drive as well. Not just the financial cost of it, which, as Trini says, it's not insignificant, but also, do you want to learn to drive again in another country? Do you want to follow those to go through that process? Where are you going to live? What's the impact of where you're going to live? Do you have transport links if you don't want to drive? And I think a lot of the information on the helpful sites about a new life in Spain. Let's look at the big commercial one, A Place in Spain. Jazz Harmon, lovely woman, and all her colleagues. No one ever talks about, by the way, do you know you've got to take your driving test? And I know we're only 6 months into this date, the deadline went, but it's a massive consideration. So it's not just a case of, oh, I'd like a balcony, I'd like to be 10 minutes from the sea, I want to be near a nightclub. That conversation needs to happen now. And what do you want to do about driving? So I think that's for all you people who are thinking about coming to Spain and you're in that process, please think about this where you live. You knock in bet, you will have to take a driving test. That's the position you should take now. Don't think about an exchange or some wand might get waved. If you're a post-Brexiteer looking to come to Spain, factor in that you will need to take your driving test. If you do that, then you'll be in the right frame of mind. You'll have all your ducks lined up for that. If you're sitting waiting for a magic wand, you're going to be disappointed. Good impact on your decisions of where you. So, having said all that, here comes the good news. When you come to Spain and you look to learn to drive, remember this: we're all of a certain age. You have probably been driving for years, so technically and physically and mechanically, you can drive. That's the good news. You haven't got to learn about what a gear stick does and what a clutch does and what an accelerator pedal does. You know all of that. So that's the good news. You're already ahead of the curve. You're ahead of some people who 17 and 18-year-olds in Spain learning to drive. You can drive. So so start from a positive position.
Shall I just remind people? Sorry, Ruth, that you were a British driving instructor. So if people weren't listening right at the beginning, so you know about this stuff.
Yes. So I still am a qualified British driving instructor, although I'm retired now in Spain, but I still have my teaching license. Should everything go wrong and I want to go back to England, God forbid, I can still do it. So you're in a good position. You can drive. You know what you're doing. It's simply, and please don't fall off your sofa, Trini and Trini's mum. It's simply a refresher course. And I'm having to position it like that for people because we've got to take the panic and the worry out for people who are coming to Spain now. That shit of all the political machinations and how horrendous that is, and it is awful. But I have a tranche of people who still want to come, who are on a different path. And the message I've got is people are on this different path. So it is actually really useful to take your theory and a couple of driving lessons when you get to Spain, because there are nuances in driving in Spain. There are differences. So you've probably come for years as tourists. You might have been coming, you might have a holiday, and now you're thinking about coming here permanently, and you've been driving fine, you've never had an accident. All these crazy Spanish drivers, and you think, blimey, how did they get a license? Actually, you'd be surprised to know that a lot of what you see on Spanish roads you think is wrong is actually right in Spanish driving law. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So roundabouts. The rules are very different in Spain for roundabouts. In the UK, you would use lane on a roundabout for going left or straight ahead, right lane for going right the way around. In Spain, you use the outside lane for every direction. And you only indicate when you intend to leave. In England, you indicate on entry for a roundabout. In Spain, you don't. The inside lane in Spain is for overtaking on a roundabout. So it's very different. So with these slight nuances, if you do take a couple of lessons, you will actually feel a lot more confident. Think, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing now. Actually, so I've got my mechanics down. I can do that. This is just the nuances of Spanish driving. I think there's other things like the doble stop. You have to stop at a stop sign and then you have to stop again. You wouldn't know those if you didn't take a couple of lessons. The amount of Spanish you need to learn to drive in Spain is actually very, very limited. So Trini's mum talked about doing the medical. Yep, you need to do your medical first, which is quite a simple medical. You do an eyesight test. You do a colour test, test, and everyone does, you do this. You literally have to keep 2 dots within 2 using your left and right hand. It's not difficult, that bit, it really isn't. It's a little bit nervy to do any type of test, but it's not insurmountable. It's not, they're not asking you to stand on one leg and do a handstand at the same time. Seriously, if you want to drive and you think you can drive, just doing that on a machine, it is possible. Once you do that, you take your theory. Now, it is a little bit more complex than in England. So I am of an age where I took my driving test, not my teaching test, when the highway code was waved at you and you had to answer 3 questions, and more or less that'll do. So that's how I did my own driving test. And we have moved on in England and the UK from that, and you have a theory, an online theory. The Spanish online theory is a lot more in depth than the UK one. But there are very good online tools to help you. I'm going to suggest practicatest.com, not because I'm aligned to them, but that's what we used. The translation is very good. It's not expensive. You can get 1 license. It's €32. It lasts 60 days, I think. And if 2 of you or 3 of you in the household, you can all use that one. So if you use it and make it per practice test, it is cents. Bear in mind, Trini, for those of us who know we've got to take a test, we're already up to here with money. Okay, so we know we've already signed the badge to go. Yeah, I know it costs a lot of money. So in terms of grand scheme of things, practical test isn't that expensive. I would say the theory, as an experienced driver, as an instructor, I still did 1,000 practice questions before we took the theory. So we were studying 2 to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 2 weeks before we took theory.
And you were saying, Elsa, to me the other day that it's the subtleties of the questions, that they repeat the questions, but they can be worded slightly differently. So Trini was saying to me that she thought she was answering the same question, and when they failed the first time and were told the right answer, then they tried to answer it the second time with that same answer, but then that was the false answer. So,
exactly. So they're not trying to catch you out. They're trying to make sure you've got a deep understanding. So the theory test is a multiple choice test. The wording is very nuanced, and you can see what you think is the same question twice, but it won't be. It'll be worded very slightly different. So like with all multiple choice, you read the question, you look to see which one it absolutely isn't, couldn't possibly be, because it's the dark answer. You get rid of that one, and then you read the others carefully. If you've done your studying, if you've practiced and you've practiced, you can pass it, but you do need to put the practice in, because the questions are nuanced and the driving law in Spain is different, and the knowledge they expect you to have is different. So you will need knowledge about motorbikes, you will need knowledge about tractors, but it's all learnable. The information is there for you to learn. The online study aids are there, and if you use them, you will pass. So if you think about it in an 80-20 rule, 80% of it you probably know because you've been driving for years. You're just looking at learning the 20%. So you're not learning 100% of a new thing. You're just looking at the small parts. If you think of it like that and kind of dial down your panic, it's possible. Once you've got your theory, then you can book for your practical lessons. Now, two schools of thought. Some people say, go and do it all independently, do your theory yourself, practice yourself, and then just rock up at a school and try and get with them for your driving test. And other people say, no, just join a school to begin with, get them to handle it all. That depends on your competence of Spanish online systems, and it depends on your competence of how you feel about doing things independently. It depends on your financial situation. Neither wrong, neither is right. It's whatever is right for you. There's two options. Personally, we went down the school route because we just wanted someone else to sort it all out for us. So you will pay your joining fee, your registration fee. They will sort everything out for you. They will sort your lessons. You must have lessons with an instructor in Spain, with a registered instructor, before you can take your test. There's no other way around it. It's not like the UK where you get your nan or your granddad or your brother or your sister and tootle around and then rock up on the day and hope for the best. No, in Spain, registered approved driving instructor, you must have lessons before, and you must go to the test with a registered instructor in an approved instructor's car with dual control. The theory will all be in English. The practical, you might get lucky with your lessons. Your instructor might speak some English. Ours doesn't. She speaks only Spanish. So what we did before we took the lessons, we made little flashcards, because we're old. We don't use mobile phones or any technology. Andrew will tell you that I'm a complete technophobe. So we got little flashcards, and we wrote down the English word, the Spanish word, and we just practiced those every day. So, semaforos, traffic lights. Wrote down traffic lights, semaforos, semaforos verde, semaforos rojo. And we just learnt it by rote until it goes in.
I've actually got a list. I'll just tell everybody. I'm going to put out a PDF file that it's Trini and friends have put together a list of all of the terms, which is really, really handy. I'm going to check them all with my Spanish teacher, just make sure they're completely accurate. So if anyone would like that, I'm going to make it available on the YouTooSpain.com website. So carry on.
And there's a limited number of phrases you need to know, and you can learn them. And once you learn them, it's not like you don't have to have a dialogue with your instructor or your examiner. We've had a couple of lessons, 2 or 3 I think we've had now. Why would you do that? So, for example, no shoulder checks when you merge into a dual carriageway, because they've got extra mirrors on their mirror. So we're trying to get out of the habit of doing the shoulder check, because they're saying actually in Spain it's more dangerous to look over your shoulder because the traffic's all going that direction.
Okay.
There's little things. But with practice, it's like anything. It is possible. John's taking his test next week, so I'll backhand Skatz and let you know how that goes. And we're in the position where we've got to do this now. We were in the position of post-Brexit. Anyone going through the NLV now you know how much it costs. You know you're in for a big financial commitment to come here. You just need to add this on, and it's just part of the package.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember, I would say 2 or 3 things. One, it will take longer than you expect. Start this process as soon as you get here. So give yourself a couple of weeks when you arrive. Exactly, yes, there's a massive waiting list for driving lessons and driving tests, yes. As soon as you arrive, get into the process. There's a lot of third countries, especially Brits wanting, but also there's a lot of young Spanish people. So, you know, you're in the waiting list with normal Spanish nationals as well. So yes, it is oversubscribed. Remember that you can already do this. It's just a refresher. Learn your limited Spanish and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. I've had some comments. I had this Deb has been particularly upset by everything and saying all very interesting, but how does this help people like me? You can't get out for medicines and food. And that's a good point. There are thousands.
I don't have the answers for that, and I think the whole situation is horrendous, as Trini and her mum outlined. It's disgusting, it's horrendous, it's heartbreaking. I've been involved in another group. There's an excellent group called Ladies Who Drive in Spain, a Facebook group. I've been on there as a admin support, and some of the stories, you know, people who have genuinely contemplated suicide over this. So this whole, and I'm sorry, shit show is not to be taken lightly. There are people who have talked horrendously about this situation. I can't live.
Yeah, and if anybody is affected by that, then please do phone the Samaritans. I'll put the helpline number down. I can't do it during the programme, but I'll put that down afterwards. So do get some help.
We're by no stretch are we saying we don't understand everyone's pain and how awful this is. However, there are still a group of people, Deb, that are looking to come to Spain, that we're trying to make sure they don't get into further issues, and we're trying to prevent people that are yet to come by trying to help them. What we can do to help people that are already here, I think people like Trini and her mum and Richelle, there's a lot of groundswell to try and get this sorted, and hopefully that will happen. And in the meantime, like Andrew said, genuinely phone the charities, phone the Samaritans. It is horrendous, but I'm just simply trying to help people that are going to go forward and try and do their test. So
great.
Good luck.
Yeah, should we get everybody else back on the screen and have a bit more debate? We'll try not to keep this going for too long, because we've already done an hour and some people can't listen for longer than that. But here we go. Here we go. There's 1 and 2. We're all back on screen. Hello, everyone. Sorry, Richelle, all of when I said put things on the live chat, I didn't realise all of your comments were going to be on the private chat. So none of those have come up on the live chat, and that's a fault of the system. So if any of those things you need to say again, then fire away. There's the Government UK website, the Brits in Spain Facebook group, CAB Spain, Brexpats, all of those things to help.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about helpful in some. I would recommend Ladies for Driving, because it's on Facebook and it's all women, mainly women. So you don't get attacked on Ladies for Driving. It's a much more supportive place to go. On some of the other groups, if you were really upset because of things, you might get a bit more attacked. So I just think for ladies or anyone who's feeling a bit anxious, if you want support on the driving situation, Ladies for Driving is a very, very good one, because
Good.
They're just lovely women who are very supportive.
Yeah, what's happened is we're all very supportive. You watch people going up, going down, going on the level. Things get really spiky, but everybody pulls back from getting personal. Yeah, and then I found some of the other ones get very personal.
I recommend YouTooSpain's Facebook group as well.
Yeah, of course.
Ours is very safe too.
The groups that I put on Skatz were groups where you could get information before all this. So information about the new protocol, where you could get your information, always in every country. Get your information, if possible, directly from the source, from the DGC Traffico website. The protocol is there in English, and it has been since November 2020. The Facebook groups were making noises and were trying to spread the word, like Brexit and Citizens Advice, the Brits in Spain, the embassy page, the government UK website. It was everywhere. But of course, if you contact a professional, you expect them to advise you correctly. And you should.
The government website didn't have
rely on that
intent, because when you went on .gov on the licenses on Spain, it did say about residency and getting your residency application, but it didn't give you any details on how to register intent with the DGT. It didn't give you any details. So it was very, very difficult to find that out from the DVLA. They did not give us much information on that at all. I went on the DVLA website many a time because it's
not the DVLA, because you've been moving to Spain, so it would have been the Spanish DGT.
Updates on what to do, because there's a lot of British people here, so you think that they would have some form of information there as well. But when I went on the Trafico website and I found the number, I genuinely called this lady to find out, because of my Irish citizenship, how does this affect me? Because
it's horrible. It's professionals. It's human errors. It's computer errors. People are caught out by lots of different reasons. And I agree with Skatz. The human thing to do would have been to just extend the grace period while the negotiations were still ongoing. I mean, it's not nice to leave everybody hanging, to put it mildly. But it's nothing we can do about now.
Yeah, and of course the what I've seen on
I'll
several...
sign the petitions and everything, but I don't know how much good that's going to do.
My thing is well, surely my Historia should pay for his mistake. I mean, why can't we get our lawyers to have to fund our driving tests?
Good luck with that.
But they've misinformed me. So you can, I'm very Irish, so I have that in me. Well, hang on a second, this is wrong.
Well, try and put in a claim.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean,
encourage everybody to do the same.
Because a lawyer should have liability insurance. All the other professionals in Spain do not have that, or at least not obligatory by law, but lawyers should.
My Hestor does.
This is it.
Some of them do voluntarily.
I think
so frustrating.
I think because as well, people are sort of like, they're trying to get some sort of refund. I mean, for me particularly, because I'm like, it's money comes in weekly for me or monthly. I don't have something that I can just take, and then I have got to feed kids and pay all the different things for kids as well. So it was sort of like, well, I would like some sort of compensation from being misinformed to maybe help with the fact that you're going to make me do it, even though I'm a European citizen and I did my driving test in England, in a European country at the time. And England, as well. I think everybody's forgotten this, that Brexit has happened in England. And I've seen a few people comment on this, and it really gets me. It really does. And they're like, well, that was the nation. They voted out of the UK. That's what you get for voting Brexit. And I'm like, do you know how close that referendum was? And you know what I mean? It's like, it was so close. It was pretty much 50-50. Families are still not talking over this. I have seen so much division in the UK because of Brexit. So I think people do need to remember that the UK is incredibly divided. There's a lot of pain over there at the moment. People voted either way, and it's torn families apart. So it's not to be sort of, when people do go on these sites and they're going, well, the UK, you voted Brexit. I'm like, kind of tone down a little bit. Remember, this has torn families apart here. There was a lot of misinformation in the UK around Brexit, and everything else. But it was a European country.
Because of Brexit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to live in Brexit Britain. I wanted to live in a European country.
Me too.
If I'd have known this, I'd have gone home to Ireland. I'd have had my Irish license in a month. I might still do it yet.
Yeah. If you're a citizen.
if you're an Irish citizen, I do advise you ringing the embassy. There is a guy from the Irish embassy. If you're struggling with anything, they've contacted me back. They've given me a telephone number. They're trying to argue on our behalf a little bit on the license situation because of the agreement between Ireland and the UK. So we'll go over there. I mean, it's just an agreement, and rightly so.
The good thing about that is they've not got this sort of political posturing to do, because they're kind of sitting on the sidelines,
But
a bit
they are
like independent.
The thing about that is that you're already a resident here, and if you get a new driving license with the date post your residency date, they won't acknowledge it for exchanges.
But no, she'd have an Irish license, so surely.
Yes,
Yeah, but you've got to exchange it within 2 years.
Resident here, so the only option is a driving license from the Spanish authorities.
Yeah, there you go. Then.
But
Yes, good
I'm
point.
European, so I can, as long as I get me job.
No, the issue where your license was issued doesn't matter.
No, but what
The problem would be within because you've got to exchange it within 2 years. When you try and exchange it, then
No, not within 2 years, because the Irish ones are probably just according to the rules. So in 10 years when it expires, but then you would have a problem in 10 years.
No, I'm supposed to exchange mine within 2 years. My Irish
are you?
license.
It's only valid for 2. Okay, but it's basically the same problem as people who renewed their license while they were waiting for their residency to be approved because it expired, or because it was lost or stolen or whatever, or because they changed address on their UK property, which is now a non-resident property.
Yeah.
So that's why the DGT is also refusing those exchanges. I mean, there's lots of different reasons.
Richelle, can I just ask a quick question? For people who are in the process of taking their Spanish driving licenses, so we're not exchanging. So when I get a Spanish driving, when I get it, not if, because we've got
that's the spirit.
We've got our positive pants on. When I get it, do I have both then? Do I have a UK one and a Spanish one?
Well, on your on the form, when you apply for your Spanish license, you're supposed to disclose whether you already have another driving license. And so if you don't do that, they'll probably you still keep your UK one, but if you just fill it in.
Luckily, you dropped out there, Richelle. I couldn't hear the probably and maybe.
Oh, all right.
I'll just tick that box. Thank you. That's what
all right.
We could all hear you, Richelle. So it's just the iPad that's blocking out.
I'm not responsible for any actions here. It's not an advice. It's just a matter of fact.
Does anyone have any more questions about the actual? I appreciate we're quite of Trini's mum. Sorry, Trini's mum, I don't know your name.
Fiona.
Hi, Fiona. Obviously, we're in very different positions. Does anyone? I can't see the questions, Skatz. Does anyone have any other questions about post-Brexit here positioning?
There's none particular come in on the chat. I've been keeping an eye on the chat.
Okay.
So. Let's ask anybody on the chat. Are there any more questions?
From the rush, and I would like to say also that I personally know of several people who live in rural areas, and where the driving schools are not happy with people coming asking for their assistance with just English. So what Ruth says about the flashcards, try and get a bit of the vocabulary in. Even add some about the initial contact, or ask someone from the village who speaks Spanish to accompany you to register you with the driving school. Make it clear that it's absolutely your intent to not be an extra burden on the driving school instructors, and that you're going to be proficient, at least with the terminology that's required of you.
My Spanish teacher this week, she gave me this thing that she'd made. It's a box that all opens out, and it's got little buildings and a road and little cars that she's put on. And she says, right,
excellent.
You're parked outside
turn
your
left
house.
And turn right. Just
tell me the directions.
Instructions.
And then she tells me the directions, and I have to move the car. And that was great.
Quite right, Richelle. I mean, we live just outside Granada. In our village, our little town, nobody speaks any English, and I mean nobody. And John and I, we speak very basic Spanish. We're learning. I mean, our Spanish is incrementally improved since we moved here because we have to. It's less conversational, more transactional about, I don't know, infrastructure, internet, whatever. It's not
practical.
I can't hold a conversation particularly about the TV. But if you want me to order 3,000 kilos of concrete, I'm your woman. So you learn what you've got to do, right? So, but what I would say is, again, dialing down all the political stuff that's going on. The driving school that we have, they're incredibly sympathetic to our plight. They're individuals. They've got their own opinions on what's happened, and they've just been, this is so horrendous for you. We really feel for you. This shouldn't have happened. What can we do to help you? Google Translate is an amazing thing on your phone. We get by with speaking a little, we speak Spanish. She tries to, she types stuff in her phone. We're on WhatsApp, which you can translate easily if you get a message on WhatsApp. My personal opinion is the average Spanish bear in the street wants to help you.
Yeah.
They want UK people to come to Spain still.
Yeah.
They will do anything to facilitate this. Our instructor, I say she doesn't speak any English at all. She constantly speaks Spanish to me, and it's helping me learn. I just see this as a gift to us. We haven't got a choice, we've got to do this. But I would say approach it with positivity, like you say, Richelle. Say you're not going to be a burden. You will learn these phrases. At the end of the day, whether we're now out of the EU or not, we live in someone else's country that we were not born into. We're a guest. We've chosen to come here.
Yeah.
Our choice. It's incumbent upon us to try to fit in and bring stuff to the country and not be a burden. So my personal thing is, for all us post-Brexiteers, put your big pants on, get your smile out, get stuck in, have a go, and I promise you the Spanish will want to help you. Our driving school, she's done everything she can to try and bump us up the list because she knows we're on a timeline. They've just been so helpful. So I think for those that are post-Brexit, it's a different world.
Yeah.
Park your political view.
Definitely.
Can't do anything about it. Get stuck in, join in, and do what you've got to do. Pre-Brexiteers, continue to bang that drum and tell everyone about the disgusting behaviour that you've been subjected to.
Yeah, we just feel very aggrieved.
I think
because
as well,
we did everything right. We wanted to be part of this country. We wanted to do everything right. We've learned Spanish. I mean, we have Spanish. We only have Spanish neighbours. We talk to them all the time. We've learned Spanish. We've got into
my
the
kids,
culture.
My
I
kids
love
are
it,
fluent.
you know?
My kids are fluent. They've been here
Brilliant.
a year, and
It's very common.
Steve,
I can't understand a word. I'm like, slow down. Very dangerous when
It's
you
very
can't.
colloquial, though, and it's sort of like
Lovely. Can we just answer the question, Ruth, on the bottom of the screen there? How much? What's the cost?
For both of us, we're about €670 in so far. That's for the two of us. So about 300 odd euros. So that's for your matriculation to join, your theory test. The good thing, so we're about that. So I would allow somewhere between 300 and 500 euros. It does depend where you are in the country. The good thing is, I forgot to mention, is you get a free go. So the Spanish rule is you get 3 attempts. So you either get 2 attempts at your theory and 1 at your practical, or if you pass your theory first time, you get 2 attempts at your practical. So they do give you a free go, which is unlike England, where it's pass or fail, and then you have to, pay again. The slight issue in Spain because of the waiting list is if you don't pass first time, you go back to the bottom of the waiting list. So the whole exchange your license or take your test in a 6-month thing, you've got to start that week 1, month 1 when you come, because you've got to allow for you might not pass first time.
There we go. Question for Richelle. Do you think there's going to be an agreement?
Well, I don't have any inside sources. I mean, I depend on what the ambassador and the Brits in Spain Facebook group comment about the ongoing negotiations. The ones from last week was a bit more positive from last Friday, from yesterday, and it said that they made good progress. So, yes, I think there will be an agreement. I mean, it would be a disgrace if there wasn't one. But when that will be, I don't have a crystal ball.
They've already, most of the rest of Europe have said yes. Was it 3 countries? Spain,
I think Italy is still pending, and I don't know, maybe one other, but all the other ones. France was a long time coming, but it's still sorted now.
I mean, I do like how Italy did that, though. So Italy extended the interim measures for Brits until December 22 and said, you need to do an Italian license, but we're not going to leave you illegal.
Yeah.
Right? You can
Of
drive,
course.
but
That would have been the civil thing to do.
yeah,
Yes.
I
Spain
think
as
that would
well.
have been a bit more like people wouldn't be so angry. I know I wouldn't have been so angry if
I
Spain had
completely
gone,
agree.
Yeah, it's being
Right.
stuck, isn't it, where you are?
yeah, you know,
Yeah. You're given hope, and then suddenly it's just your whole
Yeah.
world is taken away.
Yes.
yeah. So
I
it's
know,
like,
and I'm also horrified. I mean, if they're listening, that's too bad. But I'm horrified by an ambassador who just says, "Ask your town hall for help.
Oh,
Ask charities for
So
help."
annoying.
I mean,
So annoying.
what's it to them?
yes.
Nothing, and they can't do anything. What they do expect that they will put the services of the Protection Civil that every village has at the service of people getting their medication and stuff. No, their first network would be friends and acquaintances or neighbors. I mean, not a town hall. What are they supposed to do about it?
Yeah.
And
And
You could-
charity organizations, I know it's a big thing for Brits. I'm not British, as far as you didn't realize. I know it's a big
Really?
thing. It's a big network and a big assistance and everything. But other nationalities won't have that. I mean, if they're there and they're willing to help, if they can help, I mean, it will basically be practical issues like Deb is experiencing to get in the shopping and to get in the medication.
Where I am in the mountains, there's if 50% of the population of my area is non-Spanish people, and most of the non-Spanish live outside the town. So it would be fairly easy to have support groups
That's what I
set
say.
up from people who've already got the licenses.
I mean, the people who's affecting this have been living here for at least 17 months. And if they arrive for the end of 2020, some sort of people you could ask in your environment, in your village, that you know of, that you're in a pickle, that you could ask to help. I mean, shopping and from pharmacy is not something that you need help with every single day. So, I mean, try and find it close to home. And of course, if it's a step, because you have to ask someone, and that's always the most difficult one. I'm sure that Ruth will agree that it's a matter of shame, having to ask for assistance, while you should that you be entitled to, because your government is failing you, blah 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 blah. But try and get over, and try and just ask for a neighbor. If you know they're doing their weekly shop at Mercadona, ask if you can come, or if you can give them a shopping list for the essentials.
Yeah, we need
Not a very British thing to do.
I was going to say,
no, it's not British, but
got to
it's
be
a
a
way
bit-
to survive.
you've
And
got to be a
asking
little
town hall for assistance is just not very Spanish, and they won't be agreeable to that, because no. And why should they, to be honest?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. You have to learn to be not so British and ask your neighbours. And I mean, our neighbours, there is nothing that they haven't helped us with. We've told them our situation, and whatever you need, we'll help you. This is horrendous. So I think this is not the time for stiff upper lip.
No.
All that jazz. This is the time. Some people are in dire need.
Yeah.
Stick your hand up. Somebody will help you, and it will come from your neighbour and the person down the road. I have not met anybody in Spain who would see somebody suffer. So whilst the political machinations carry on, and somebody pulls their finger out their backside about Gibraltar and stops saying it's about DVLA BS,
Just be honest.
it is. Total BS, and I don't want to get political, and I wasn't going to, because I'm waving the positivity.
We didn't hear that, Ruth. We didn't hear that.
So while all that goes on,
sorry, but
day-to-day practicality.
I'm sure there's some political stancing going on. I don't want to know. I just want
exactly. But you've got to stop being British. Ask your neighbours.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like you have to grovel or anything. It's just sincere asking for a little bit of assistance, and that's really a very small effort to make for your neighbours or your acquaintances in the village.
I think this is a really nice positive note to kind of wind up the debate on, isn't it? I think talk to your neighbours, whatever nationality they are. I mean, we've got people from all over Northern Europe and Scandinavia round in this area, and I haven't met one awful person yet.
Probably the same saying in the UK as in Holland. It's better to have a close neighbour than a far friend.
Yeah, true. Very good. Nice statement to end up on. So let's see if we can give out a prize. Normally we give out some prizes. Who's been on the chat? That I know, Ruth, you can't see them. So I think Deb Lee deserves, because she's obviously gone through a lot of trouble. She's been really upset by it all. I think we should give her a prize.
Yes, and just
So-
I love to Deb
and
because we talk
yeah,
a lot.
and Deb doesn't have any neighbours. She is
Oh.
really rural, so that's just another sort of-
Right. Well, maybe Trini, you can collect her details because you're on the same group as Sarah, and send them over to me so I can give them to Chris from Upsticks, who will be sending out the prizes. Shall we pick one more?
I also see one final question.
Oh, yeah?
Skatz, from Gary Webster, if I may.
This one. I missed
Yeah.
that one.
If this is going to be this darned regulation finally, or this convenio finally signed, then it's going to be for everybody. So not just for people who arrive before the end of 2020. It's going to be for everybody with a UK driving license. But the only thing is that there must be different regulations about how to go about it, because we're going to need a transition period for those who already arrived under the withdrawal agreement, and people who arrive newly, because they will still have the 6 months deadline, but they will be able to do an exchange instead of getting a new license through tests. So
There you
that's
go.
the only difference. But that should include everybody.
Yes.
I'd be
Hopefully.
happy with 3
Fingers
months.
crossed.
You know, why 6 months? Just do 3 months, even. You know.
No, because
Right.
DGT Traffico will never be able to deal with that. No.
Yeah.
And
All
they're
the
gonna
driving
have-
schools or anybody.
I hope everybody involved has some sense in their head, because we're going to need at least 6 months to a year to get everybody processed who's still waiting. On top of
at
the
least.
regular appointments at Trafico. Because of course, now there's no window open for UK nationals, so they have to reopen that as an option on the drop-down menu, and they will be on top of everybody else. So
There you go. So
let's hope they have some sense in their heads.
yes, common sense. If only that existed all over the place.
There's always hope.
So good on that hopeful note. I'll also give out a prize to people who leave the best comments on the YouTooSpain Facebook group over the next few days as well. So that'll be the second prize and possibly the third. And there we go. Next week, my regular fortnightly guest, Chris from Upsticks, will be back, and we'll be looking at another aspect of moving to Spain and how much it all costs. So make sure you all join us next week, and subscribe and click on the bell so you can get a notification of that, and click the like button, do all those usual YouTube things. The regular time, of course, just in case you joined late, is 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning if you're in the UK or Ireland, 10 o'clock if you're in Spain, Central European time, or 4 o'clock in the morning if you're in New York. And don't forget to check out U2 Yoga, the YouTube channel where you can get free yoga and meditation classes. This will help everybody chill out. That's my wife's free channel. And free yoga and meditation. And if you've liked what you've heard today, then buy me a coffee or become a patron to support YouTooSpain. All the links you can find in the description below. So that is all for this week. Let's say just a quick thank you to everybody on the chat. I can't mention all your names because there's a massive list. Thank you all for tuning in. And especially thank you to my wonderful guests, Trini and Fiona, Richelle and Ruth. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of each other. And I'll see you again on another day. So peace and love to everybody. And everybody get ready to dance to the theme song. Here we go. I'll get it set up now. It's very cosmic. All right. Bye, everybody. And bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.